بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيت الأطهار الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. Inshallah, this year will be the year of the reappearance of our beloved Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif with the blessing of another loud salawat. Inshallah, all of us gathering tonight will be amongst his companions and his sincere soldiers with the blessing of another loud salawat. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ومتعني بهدى صالح لا أستبدل به. O Allah, send your peace and blessing upon Muhammad and his progeny. And O Allah, enjoin me with righteous guidance, which I seek not to replace. These phrases of Dua Makarimul Akhlaq by our fourth Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam also starts with salawat again. And as we mentioned the first night, there are more than 20 salawat within this dua, that every couple of phrases Imam brings salawat again and then he continues. We're asking about righteous guidance, hidayah. O Allah, enjoin me, matta'ni bihudan, hidayah, salihin, righteous guidance. There are two kinds of guidance. One that we share with animal and one that is only for us as a human being. The guidance that we share with animals, it's called existential guidance. Our existence and the existence of the animal are in a way we're receiving guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without us thinking about it. For example, our heart beats and operates by the will of Allah the way that He has programmed it to beats. We don't have to think about our heartbeats. We don't think about our growth. We don't think about our breathing. We don't think about how our body parts operate. Our body parts, they are operating within a manual that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described this manual for this body to operate this way. Liver, this is your task, this is your responsibility. Heart, this is your responsibility. Lungs, this is your responsibility. Eyes, ears, each one of them, they have a responsibility which they are fulfilling by the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has programmed it this way. Animals, the same thing. A bee, 1 million years ago, they were doing what they were doing that they are doing today. They are producing honey. And every bee has its own task. Bees that they go out, bees that are within, and they know their task. They don't go back, forward, right, left. This is what they have to do. They have been conditioned and programmed this way. This is a guidance that we cannot ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anything about it. Allah is doing it this way. Allah, make my eyes differently. Make my heart do this. No. We have to go with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed for us. So the guidance that we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, enjoin me with righteous guidance, we are not talking about this guidance. For this we need ni'mah of afiyah, of being healthy. The second kind of guidance, which we differ from animals, it's the ni'mah, the guidance of hidayah, hidayah tashri'iyya. The first one is called hidayah takwiniyya. Guidance, which is existential guidance. This is tashri'i. It's about what we do and what we don't. It's about laws, rules, relationship, guidance within rights and responsibility that we have. How should we operate? With a computer, there's a hardware and there's a software. The hardware, when it gets there, that's it. Right now, we add more software to it to be able to use it more and more and more. Without softwares, the hardware is there, but you are not able to use it. You cannot type. You need Microsoft Office to type. If you want to create or design something, you need Photoshop to be able to draw something. So you have to add softwares into it. Basically, to make it very, very, very simple and tangible, we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to install more applications, more software in us so we can be on the right path. And make sure we don't replace it with viruses. This is to make it very, very basic for even the kids to understand. The body is the same. Our body, an animal. We have eyes, they have eyes. Ears, ears. Lungs, lungs. Stomach, stomach. It's the same thing. Hands, feet. But what makes us differ is the ability to, Allah has given us free will. For this free will, you have guidance. We need guidance that we cannot let go by itself, ourselves. Majority of the people, alaykum assalam, majority of the people, be it religious and some secular scientists and sociologists, they argue that we need rules and regulation applied upon us. Please pay attention, very detailed points, so we can understand what we are asking when we say, oh Allah, guide me, and why we ask guidance from Allah. Oh Allah, you guide me. And by the end we will see that if Allah's guidance has been applied to me, have I received this guidance or I have not? Let me give you an example. We have satellites and we have receivers, true? Both of them are needed in order for us to see some channels and to be entertained, watch news, watch movies, whatever it is. Sometimes, and there is a third element, which is the satellites in the sky, which sends the wave. We call that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's sending the wave. And then we have a satellite, a dish that we put on the top of a roof, and then we have a receiver. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending the wave, is sending the ni'mah, He's sending the blessings non-stop. And everybody is benefiting from those signals. The rain that we get is a blessing. The sun, it's a blessing. And a lot more oxygen that we get, it's a blessing. Trees are a blessing that we get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, sometimes, and I have the receiver. The body is the receiver. But the satellite sometimes is not towards you, Allah. We brought somebody to install our satellite for us to see the Middle Eastern channels, we don't have any cable channels or all of these network. No. If I become a marja, which I don't think I will make it haram to have cable in your houses. But luckily that I don't have any plan to become marja taqlid. Because I've seen some of the houses that I go, the channels that are on the cable and what kids are watching. Oh Allah, my satellite should be this much, this way, toward the wave that you are sending. Make sure it stays there and make sure you guide the satellite toward your waves. Our installer, he said, if 2 degrees, this satellite is moved 2 degrees, you're not going to see anymore. You're not going to see any more channels. The receiver is there, the satellite. Oh Allah, let you sending guidance and join me with right guidance so I can get these signals. And I can, via these signals, install software within me so I can be a better person. And I'm not going to change it with viruses. So there are majority that say that we need rules and regulation. Within these group of people, they have different idea where should we get these rules and regulation. And there are very small minority group of people that they say, no, we don't need any rules and regulation. Our nature, our fitra, our innate is sufficient for us to be good. We don't need anybody to bring us rules and regulation. Which a lot of argument can be done against these group of people, which we have seen. If you let mankind without any rules and regulation, without the second element, someone to supervise them, we see what they do to themselves. I was arguing with a friend of mine. I haven't seen the movie because I don't like this horror movie, Purge, which is coming out, or it's already out, I don't know. That the government allows you for 24 hours for you to do whatever you want. You are free. And I've seen like maybe 30 seconds of the trailer. How horrific is this law to leave 24 hours? Imagine if they say 24 hours, no police officer, no laws, you're allowed to do whatever you want. What people will do in our own city. So we need laws and regulations. And then we need someone to supervise this operation. Leaving the laws there, it's not going to go by itself. You need someone that if you abuse the law, if you walk into someone else's right, they bring you back. They punish you, reward and punishment. So let's stick to this idea. During the time of Jahiliyyah, ignorance, and back, and some of the ideas still exist, there are two ideologies of how to run a system, a government, a society. One was tribalism. Morality, please pay very clear ideas to get to the guidance and to see the importance of guidance and where should we get the guidance from. Please pay attention after a loud salawat. So we need laws and regulation. Two ways until last couple of centuries they were operating. The society was going under two different systems. One system, tribalism. The morals and the culture of tribes, which was very, very, very bad, many of them. One, that we are aware, burying your daughters alive, that they used to do in Arabian Peninsula. Why? Because we're thinking about the tribe, girls don't have any benefit for the tribes and you have to take care of them. They are a burden on our shoulder. Logically, they were coming to this conclusion. Since she cannot work, number one. Since she cannot be a breadwinner, number two. Since she becomes a burden on the shoulder, number three, they are not worthy of living. They justify their own acts. That is why we have to bury them. If they are born, if the baby is born as a girl, we are burying them. And the Quran says, when they would hear the news that your baby was born as a girl, swaddat wujuhuhum. Their face would become black from shame and anger that how come we have a girl? Rasulullah comes to this people. And that is the miracle of Rasulullah. Inshallah, when we get a chance one day, talk about the miracle of Rasulullah, how he was able to bring these barbaric people to bring them to the highest level of morality, where Abu Dhar comes from it, and Salman, and so on and so forth. So this is one system of rules and regulation that we need, that they had, which was completely wrong. Culture, which we talked a couple of nights ago, how much problem we have with our own culture. And until today, we are having some of our ideas from our culture, which is completely wrong. A sister calls me and she said there is a good guy with good akhlaq and good behavior and religion has came, and he's asking my hand, but my father said we are Sayyid, we are not allowed to marry to non-Sayyid. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. It's only in Hindu-Pakistani culture. Sorry to say. Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, they have their own bad culture into them also. I mean, every culture has their own bad. But where we have gotten this idea that a girl which is Sayyid, Alwiya, Sayyida, cannot marry non-Sayyid. I don't know. I've seen many people have given lecture about this topic. They have elaborated, they have brought examples from the life of Ahlul Bayt. We are allowed. She said that we're stuck here. Please do something for me. We criticize their cultures, but let's look at our own culture. Within some of the tribes in Iraq or within Arab country, the girl doesn't pick her future spouse. The father picks. She has no yes into it. Father thinks this is a good guy. Okay, that's it. Let's do the nikah. Until now, there are some people within our own Muslim community that they say, cousins, ibn al-am l-ukht al-am, the cousins should marry. These two are for one another, that's it. Their marriage has been done in heaven. You might laugh, but still these people exist in back home. What is the difference between marrying her to someone that she does not want to marry to and then burying her alive? You're letting her suffer every day because she did not want to marry this person. So that's one system that we are living. We used to live. Another system, dictatorship. I am the dictator and I run the show. My laws, my rules and regulation, nobody can disobey me. Disobey will result in assassination and killing. Which we still have also, until today, we have dictators within our countries. That they run the land, unfortunately. But still, we need somebody, because within the beginning of the introduction of the talk, we said we need laws, rules, and regulation. If it's left to us, without any rules and regulation, without any supervision, shaitan really, really will influence and people will eat one another alive. There's a hadith that proves that we need someone to supervise us and to have laws and regulation and a supervisor. قال رسول الله محمد صلى الله عليه وآله الإمام الجائر خير من الفتنة. You have an oppressor ruler. As an oppressor. It's better than a chaos without anybody to supervise you. Both of them are bad. We don't have any good into them. An oppressor and a society with no supervisor. No one to follow and apply the rules. But at least the society which has a supervision, it's better than the one that doesn't have anything. One can argue, I've been to Iraq, people of Iraq, they are slowly saying that during the time of Saddam was much better than what we are living right now. Was he an oppressor? He was. Didn't he kill millions? He killed. But still, it's better than today. At least they had some kind of safety. Even though, the worst person on earth you can imagine during his time was him. But still, it's better than fitna of the chaos of not having any laws, any regulation, and no supervision. So dictators also bad. Culture of the tribe, bad. We evolved and ideas were created. We became into democracy. We're trying to get into, when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance, why we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance? Why should we take all of our do's and don'ts from our Creator? So, alaykum salam. Before getting to the Allah, we have to see what exists and find their flaws, that they did not work right. They were completely against humanity. So when we come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can appreciate getting the do's and don'ts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will not question His judgment. Tribes, their own flaws, which was completely wrong. Dictatorship, its own flaws. Democracy. Much, much, much better than culture of the tribe and dictatorship, but still has a lot of flaws. Why? Because it comes from majority of the people. You might say, well, majority of people select a person. Well, guess what? When Quran says, أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ, majority of the people don't know. If you look at a society, are the majority educated or majority uneducated? Majority are uneducated. You have a group of people who go to school and who strive and work hard to gain the knowledge and to be educated. Majority, either because of lack of finance or lack of whatever it is, poverty or family or whatever it is, they don't have that education. So who picks these elected people? Who elects them? Majority, which are uneducated. And there is no saying for those who are educated, because there are minorities. And these people, when they are elected, who they have to follow? Their constituent, which they picked, or those people who funded them. Why until now, if we get a little bit to politics, why until now they have problems with passing laws about guns and restricting guns? Why? Because you have NRA, that they are funding these representatives that people have picked into Congress, and they are paying billions and billions and billions of dollars to keep their laws go away that they can make profit. If Congress and President come and put a lot of rules and regulation on guns, guess what's going to happen to NRA? Their sales are going to decrease and decrease and decrease. If they stop going to war, which a lot of wars are because of these organizations, they don't sell anymore. So democracy has its own flaws also, even though it's much better than the other two, but it still has its own flaws. Decades ago, they come with prohibition of alcohol. Didn't it become a law? It became a law that alcohol is prohibited. But what happened? Majority, because majority goes towards fulfilling their lustful desires. Majority of people obey shaitan. Majority of people want to just have fun. They came and they protested, and what happened? Alcohol is back allowed again. Hasn't it alcohol caused millions of deaths? Hasn't it? It has. Isn't it harming the society? How many of us, we know people who were either killed or had been injured or something happened to them because of somebody hit them while they were drunk? How many? Go and do research. How many people a year they die in the United States of America because of drunk drivers? Is it a bad law to have? It is. But majority elected people, and these majority people want this kind of law, and the representative, they have to abide by their needs. So again, problem with democracy. Where should we go to? Tribe did not work, which again, we still have some kind of those ideas for the tribe in us, in our own family. Dictators don't exist that they used to exist, but still we have, I can become the dictator in my own house. That I say to my family, this is the way that we have to go. My way or highway. So we need someone. We need to get guidance from somewhere. These do's and don'ts that we have within our life, we should get it from somewhere. I cannot come up with my own mind and intellect for these do's and don'ts, arguing against those people that say our innate walks us toward good deeds. So what's happening with all of this chaos that is happening, with all of these killings, mass killing? They did not have nature. Did their innate walk them toward killing and chaos and corruption and oppression. We need guidance. Where do we get this guidance from? We need it. قال الإمام الصادق عليه السلام لا يستغني أهل كل بلد عن ثلاثة. People of any society, they need three different people. It's a need. They cannot go without it. Sometimes it's a want. No, it's a need. يفزع إليهم, they go and they refer to these people في أمر دنياهم وآخرتهم. This is the beauty of the teachings of Ahl al-Bayt and the religion of Islam, because it thinks for your dunya and akhirah. Has plan for your dunya and akhirah. If you go to Buddhism, if you go to Hinduism, if you go to Confucianism, if you go to other ism, how many of them they have planned for both dunya and akhirah? Do they have? Some of them they stick completely to dunya. Some of them forget about dunya. Divorce dunya, completely akhirah. Islam says no. Dunya and akhirah. And Quran teaches us, ask in your dua, in your qunut, Rabbana atina fi dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana. Oh Allah, give us good. Give us benefit in this dunya and akhirah. Who are these three people? فَأَنْ عَلِمُوا ذَلِكَ كَانُوا. If they don't go with these, according to the teachings of these three people, they are astray. فَقِيهٌ عَالِمٌ وَرَعٌ. Faqih, the one who knows the religion. And he's God-fearing. He did not just leave it by faqih. No. Faqihun, alimun, he's knowledgeable, wara'un. He fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are very, very three important elements. Faqih, who has strived and who struggles to understand Quran and Hadith. He's knowledgeable and he's wara'. He fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one. وَأَمِيرٌ خَيْرٌ مُطَاعٍ. And a king. Person, Amir, that people obey him. And has to be just. وَطَبِيبٌ بَصِيرٌ ثِقَةٌ. And a doctor, a physician, which his eyes is open, he is wide aware of the medicine, and thiqah, he's trustworthy. These three people are needed within any society to move forward. And let's look at the life of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, that they are these three themselves. They have, aren't they faqih? Aren't they alim, knowledgeable? Knowledge comes from them, from Allah to them. Aren't they God-fearing? Aren't they khulafa? Aren't they tabib? Look, we have book Tabb al-Sadiq, Tabb al-Radha, Tabb al-Rasul. Eat these things, don't eat these things. These foods are good. If you have fever, do these things. If you have this, eat these things. And there's a Sayyid, I forgot his name, may Allah bless him. He has studied so much into Tabb of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Everything that you ask him, he's a doctor, he's a Sayyid scholar, but he answers you from Tabb of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. So we need people. We need guidance. We need rules and regulation. Where do we get these rules and regulation? Where do we get our do's and don'ts? Imam says, your do's and don'ts have to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has to be, oh Allah, matta'ni bihudan salihan. Enjoin me with a righteous guidance from you. You the creator. Because us as a tribe, we got together, we were completely wrong. Us as we got a dictator, he was wrong. We got together as a people, from people, by people, for people. It did not work. Democracy is destroying us, even though it's much better, whatever we can come to, than the other two. But still, oh Allah, I need guidance from you. And hasn't He sent us guidance? We read in Quran, Surah Al-Isra, chapter 17, verse 9. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم. this Quran that we have, indeed this Quran guides to that which is most just, most right, and more upright. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, you will not find any problem between two people that you don't find the solution in this Quran. When we have problem, where do we go to? Do we go to Quran? To see what did Quran say beforehand? There are doctors within the majlis. What they say, before you prevent getting sick, rather than get sick and then come for medicine. Prevent. Do things for you not to get sick. Allah in Quran says, I'll have a plan for you. I have a map for you. When we want to go from here to, for example, let's say, Texas, we get a map, okay? And this is the Quran. We get a map. I'm not educated. I hold the map this way. I have the map. I prepared everything. The car is there, fuel is there, everything is there. And I say, okay, it says we have to go this way. Okay, we go. Days and days and days we go, and instead of getting to Texas, suddenly we see ourselves, we are in Michigan. What happened? We get to Michigan, we say, okay, this is people, we came. They will laugh at us. They say, no, you're supposed to go this way. And by that time, all of your money, all of your wealth, gas, energy, food, everything is finished. You don't have anything else. What do we want to do? This is our life. I think, to be very, very tangible, I think hijab is not wajib. Or, I know hijab is wajib. I don't have yaqeen yet. So I live my life in a way without hijab. Either the hijab of eyes or the hijab of cover for the girls. I live my life in a way 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Then I find out, oh my God, I was wrong. A brother comes to me. He said, because of a reason, past 40 years I have not fasted. He thought that this reason is a legitimate reason for him not to fast. And then we had the other day that if you purposely eat your fast, you have to redo it, and 60 days for every day. So you do math. 40 times 30 days. You do the math. How many days he has missed? I told him, well, that reason was not right. It's not a legitimate reason. There are some legitimate reason that you should not, it becomes haram on you to fast. If a doctor tells you by fasting you'll harm your body, fasting becomes haram for you. What is halal becomes haram. A woman who is pregnant, she should not fast. The one who is breastfeeding, if she thinks by her fasting she will not be able to breastfeed anymore, she should not fast. So there are conditions. But this, he says, so Sheikh, what should I do? 40 days. If he wants to just redo the 30 days, how many days will be? And if we come to conclusion that for every day he has to do 60 days, and right now he's 55, what should he do? So if we get to know right now that whatever wajib is wajib, and I pay close attention to it, I'm not going to live my life for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. My father, he went and he did burial ceremony of someone. And it is very good when we go to the burial ceremony, we use the time because it's a time to awaken people. They'll see. If they deny it somewhere else, if they forget it, when they come to the top of the grave and they see their loved one has passed away, they will be awakened that one day this will be the ending for me. So we take the advantage to guide them more. He started talking about halal and haram, doing good, doing bad. A guy at the age 55, he comes to my father and he says, Sheikh, you talk about this. I've heard somewhere that there is a ghusl wajib for us that we have to do. I have not done any ghusl yet. He's 55. Is there any ghusl wajib that we have to do? I prayed here and there. I still prayed here and there. But those prayers, if there is a ghusl wajib on us men, that we have to do, and we don't do the ghusl that is wajib, and we pray, or we do the ghusl which is wrong, our salah is batil. Our wudu, 40 years wudu this way, batil. Then salah is batil. What should we do, Sheikh, right now? I mean, what can I tell you right now? I mean, what can I tell you? So we have a system that we think we go. Quran says, I have a plan. Come with my plan. You're not going to get into difficulties. It's going to become easy. In هذا القرآن يهدي. It guides you. Another verse. Is this the Quran sufficient? Allah says, chapter 9, Surah At-Tawbah, verse 33. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق. It is He, Allah, who has sent His messenger with guidance and the religion of truth. I believe in Islam. I believe in Ahlul Bayt. I believe in ahkam. But I do my way of ahkam, not the way that has been prescribed by the maraja, that this is ahkam. They said this way. I think the maraja are going so far with their rulings. I don't think they are right. And Allah's punishment, I don't think adulteress or should get punished. Doesn't make sense. If you kill somebody, for you to be killed, doesn't make sense. Let me give you an example. You go to doctor. Punishments are, if somebody comes into you, tells you that the religion of Islam, religion of very barbaric torture, if somebody commits sin of adulteress, if the whole rulings of Islam applied today, Ayatollah Shirazi argues that in today's date, we cannot apply the rulings of Islam. Why? Because there is no one country which has applied the ruling of Islam completely. There is none. You cannot argue that there is a country that is following and applying the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam completely, and they can call themselves an Islamic government. We don't have. Since we don't, we cannot apply the punishment of Allah. For example, cut the hand of the thief. Because you know there are 22 conditions, give and take, before you can cut the hand of the thief. What a beautiful religion we have. But we don't know it. The first condition, that there should not be an unemployment rate in that country. Find me one country that doesn't have unemployment rate. Everywhere, 5%, 10%, 20%, up, higher. So if this person doesn't have a job, I, as Islamic government, have not provided job for him, which is my duty, which Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam said, I provided for my community, I cannot come and take the hand of the thief and cut it. And so on and so forth within these conditions. But the reason that there are for the punishment, you go to the doctor. I had one of my relatives, he started having diabetes in his legs, in his foot, he started it. And they told him that you have to cut the leg. Isn't that a very nice thing for the doctor to tell the patient, well, you have to cut your leg? No. What a rude doctor are you? You don't have no mercy. Well, he's showing a mercy. They told him this thing is spreading higher and higher and higher. You have to cut it while it's under your fingers, or it was in his feet. He did not. It's my feet. How can I let it go? It came up until his knee. No. Got to his wrist, and then he said, okay, you can allow. Then they cut it from here. Why? The punishment is to save the society from something. Society should go this way. There are people within the society that are taking it completely this way. Not toward Allah, toward shaitan. There needs to be punishment for it. So can we question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His do's and don'ts? No, because we don't know it. Why? Why hijab is wajib? A lot of people come to me, a lot of youth, for music, hijab, eating halal, eating haram, shaking hands with the opposite sex, keeping the beard. Why, Sheikh, we cannot shave our beard? Like, why? When I get to a Q&A with the youth, I tell them the first thing, as soon as they start having asking these kind of questions, I tell them, my answer to all of these questions is because Allah said so. That's it. Definitely there are logical answers to it, but I'm not going to get into that field with you. In that case, where does my obedience to Allah come into play? In that case, my obedience is to logic and science, not obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, don't shave your beard completely, zero. Hijab, wajib, this is the criteria for hijab. Don't listen to music. Don't shake hands. Eat halal. Pray your prayer this way. Do wudu this way. Pay your khums. Sheikh, I think khums, Allah says, if you go to the battlefield, I know Quran so much. When you go to the battlefield and you get ghanimah, then you have to pay khums. We're not going to battlefield, so there is no khums. Have you read the hadith of Ahlul Bayt about khums or not? If you want to rely on Quran only, what will be different between us and the other school of thought? What did they say? Their leader, what did he say? Hasbuna Kitabullah. Kitab Allah is sufficient. If you want to go find me everything, because the Quran doesn't say it, so what is the difference between you and him? He says, Hasbuna Kitab Allah, and you say, if in Quran, I had sisters who say, if you find me the word of hijab in Quran, I'll do wear hijab. As soon as I say hadith, no Sheikh, Quran. Even though in Quran talks about hijab, that how they should cover, with the detail of it. We need do's and don'ts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Action plan. Let me go and check my own personal life, my own personal belongings. I went to someone's house, had a piano from here till there. Educational purpose. May Allah bless that education that you're giving to your kids. What educational system is that? If it's haram, educationally is haram. Non-educational is haram, entertainmentally is haram, whatever you look at it's haram. If you're married, I say, is that haram? Do it. So let me see the do's and don'ts that I have in my family. If I'm that father, that I am Sayyid, and my daughter, she's a Sayyida, and there's a young boy, comes and asks me asks my daughter's hand, and I believe, because of my culture, because of my background, that my girl, which is Sayyida, cannot marry a non-Sayyid, means that my do's and don'ts, I have not gotten it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have gotten it from my culture. My hijab, if that, I say, I believe in Allah, I believe in Rasulullah, I believe Fatima al-Zahra, I believe in everything, but hijab, my culture, not Allah. Imam says, oh Allah, this dua, you guide me. Oh Allah, enjoin me with righteous guidance. Guidance, what is guidance? The teaching of Islam. All the hadith of Ahlul Bayt and the verses of Quran, they are the guidance, the righteous guidance. Why? And then what happened? Which I seek not to replace. And I should check myself, how many times the do's and don'ts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have replaced it with my own intellect. I have replaced it with my culture. I have replaced it, the righteous guidance that Allah sent 124,000 prophets. The righteous guidance that Allah sends Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. The righteous guidance that Ahlul Bayt, I was telling to a friend of mine, look how the religion of Islam is so important. How this religion is so important that Allah sacrifices His best people, sacrifices the holiest blood on earth for sake of this religion. And that is the blood of Muhammad and Al Muhammad. Imam Hussein sacrificed his blood for whom? Ali ibn Abi Talib sacrificed his blood for whom? Fatima al-Zahra and Imam Hassan and Imam Sajjad and Imam Baqir and Imam Sadiq and Imam Kadhim and Imam Rida alayhi salam and Imam Jawad and Imam Hadi and Imam Hassan al-Askari. Why they sacrificed? They gave this blood for this religion, for you and I, to get our do's and don'ts from Allah, not from our culture and aql and science. Science is good for itself. Science, I had a class, faith and reason, science and religion, and the teacher said that there always been separation. I told him we never had this discussion back home. Science and religion for us, science always come to help prove what religion has said 1400 years ago. Science, when it gets elevated, they figure out why religion of Islam said to do wudu this way. There's a scientific reason behind it. You do it this way. You wash. Why you wash this way? Why you wash this way? But when it comes to wiping, you come this way. There is a very beautiful article why we do it. I don't have a chance to go into it. Fasting. Why fasting is good. 1400 years later, scientists come and write why fasting is good for you. Always science comes and proves what religion. So anytime that we see something within a religion that science says, we don't think so, let the science get advanced and they will come to conclusion that they were right. I need an answer from you with one unanimous word. Where do we get our do's and don'ts from? Allah and Ahlul Bayt. That's where we get our do's and don'ts from. What happens next if we get our do's and don'ts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Chapter 46, verse 13, Surah Al-Ahqaf. Allah says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهِ. Tonight we are saying Rabbuna Allah. From tonight I want to get all of my do's and don'ts from Allah. ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. They stood firm. People came around them and they told them, this is what you were doing, it was wrong. They stay firm. No, Allah. You're letting your girl to do this is wrong. No, Allah. ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. These people, they will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve at all. Because they say, Allah, and they are firm. I say Allah, and I don't shake hands. I say Allah, and I wear good hijab. I say Allah, and I don't sit on the table where alcohol is served. I say Allah, and I don't give usury. I say Allah, and I pay my khums. ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. These people will not have fear or no grief at all in their life. Let's have a loud salawat. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه. Everybody في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة. Louder. وليا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. صلوات.